Hello there.
Hey guys, ready for another pre-game show, ready before here. Tuesday's action in the NBA, just the 5 games on. Let's go through the news that has come out. Dante Exum, not that much to do with today's games, but he's going to be out for 1 to 2 months with a strained calf. He was starting at small forward. He was going to lose that spot when Isaac Okoro came back, and he's not really a fantasy option. It looks like we're going to see D'Anthony Melton play today, so that's awesome because he was available but didn't play last game. How he takes minutes from Bane and Allen and Jones even is going to be key for us to watch. Derek Favors is in. He was never really at risk of missing out, while Juwan Morgan is out due to some health and safety protocol stuff. Brown and Clark starting again for Memphis. That's the only starting lineup that we have confirmed at this stage for today's games. If I bring that up for you guys on the screen as well. It's the only starting line we've got confirmed, which is Tyus Jones, Dylan Brooks, Kyle Anderson, Brandon Clark, and Jonas Valanciunas. Both Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and LeBron James are listed as questionable for the Lakers, which that game starts at midday. And I don't know why I started to do this pre-game show so early, but I did. So maybe we'll just go an extended time frame here, and because we've got an hour to go until the games. I didn't mean to go this early, but hey, would you guys like me to keep going, go through for the whole hour and answer questions from you guys, and look at news as it goes on? Might as well, huh? What else am I going to do? All right, we'll do it that way. We'll go to get in here, and remember, if you do want to throw questions in, if you do throw the super chat, it will highlight questions for me, and they're the ones that I am going to get to. More likely over others. Let's go through other news though. Blake Griffin looks like he's going to be returning on Wednesday. He rested last game, so he looks like he'll be fine. And he's just going to be resting games continually. The Thunder are going to be without Alexei Pokusevski again on Wednesday, while Killian Hayes is doubtful. Darius Garland is out for Wednesday. Kevin Porter is out for Wednesday as well. Josh Jackson is questionable, while Bogdan Bogdanovic is probable for the Atlanta Hawks. And the Magic got some good news with James Ennis listed as probable, but Michael Carter-Williams is out, and Evan Fournier is questionable with those back issues that have cost him the last 2 games. Marcus Smart and Jeff Teague still both questionable for Wednesday for Boston. There is 11 games on Wednesday, so there is a lot of action. So when we have that, that situation where there is so many games on, like guys that you add to stream, maybe it is someone like Peyton Pritchard. Can you actually get them into your lineup? Yeah, that's again a big question that you have to ask yourself. Because if you go and do that, if you go and add guys like Pritchard and then they sit on your bench because they're your 11th best player for the day, is it worth it? Is it worth dropping that guy? Is it worth the acquisition that you had to make to get that guy out? Someone says here, Dynasty questions, please. I'm going to be doing a mini show on Dynasty Leagues tomorrow. 10-15 minute show in the morning my time, which is late afternoon US time, covering three separate players, and those players at this point are Emmanuel Quickley, Keldon Johnson, I believe, and Jayshawn Tate. So looking at some dynasty value of those guys. All right, let's have a look at what else is going on. We'll go through and do some DraftKings and FanDuel stuff a little bit later on. Let's take some questions now. Royce O'Neal or Paul Millsap from Daniel Gion. I would take Millsap there. Probably just a little bit higher upside, but we're talking real low-end sort of stuff there for both of those guys. KCP not playing tonight, so Kyle Kuzma will get another start for the Lakers, so that is confirmed. Kuzma didn't do a huge amount in his last start, and playing alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis. We assume LeBron because we don't have any confirmation that he is out. I'm 100% assuming that LeBron's going to be playing. It is hard for Kuzma to do what he needs to do. All right, what else? News? Any other news? All right, let's go. Another question from you guys. Mike Conley for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. A lot of you people ask, there's so many trade questions you guys ask, and it's really hard to answer those because you've got to have context of a team and context of your league and context of the other managers there as well. There's a lot to think about. Conley for Gilgeous-Alexander, and the way I like to look at it and go, can I easily make an argument for why Conley will finish higher than Shai? And if the answer is yes, then is it necessarily a good trade? Now, I probably think vast majority of situations we will have Shai ahead of Conley, but it's not the way it's going at the moment. So I'm not certain that that's one you want to do. There is the 50% shooting from Conley that's probably going to come down. But that is something that we do have to be aware of when we're thinking about those sort of things. Who's a better streamer this week from Rick Dennis in a points league? Nick Batum or Royce O'Neal? Rick, you tell me. How many points are these guys averaging this season? Because what they're currently doing so far, I don't think there's going to be too much different in what they do for the rest of this week. So, yeah, you tell me what they're averaging, and then you can sort of work that out from there. That's a lot of points leagues. It's understanding context behind why someone's doing what they're doing. But a lot of the time, these sort of guys are doing what they do at a level that's pretty similar to what they usually do. Now, I probably think that the return of Marcus Morris could have an impact on Batum, but there's also a back-to-back here coming up for the Clippers, so Kawhi might sit out, so that maybe helps Batum. I'd probably marginally lean Batum, but you have to tell me what your points league situation or what your scoring system is like, and that gives you the answer right there. Joe Stout, who's a better stream for scoring and threes tonight and Wednesday? Sorry, Clarkson or Lou Williams. I'll take Clarkson there pretty comfortably. He's being a lot more consistent this year, so I'll take him. Josh Evers. Hey, Josh, how are you able to get people to give up untouchables? People in my league are wanting trades, but not willing to trade their top 5 picks. It really depends on your league, really, because some leagues will just go wild with trades, and they'll trade 3 for 3s, and they'll trade their top picks all over the shop. Some just won't want to do it. There isn't a way if someone doesn't want to do it, there's no real way that you can come in and convince them. It's all about their personality, really, and what their thought process is when it comes to trades. There's no one way that you can say, well, you have to trade this top 5 guy. You can try and overwhelm them with 3 players for one, but if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. Jonathan Daytouche says, are projections continually updated on Basketball Monster? Yes, literally all the time. All right, what else have we got? Mason Plumley or Larry Nance Jr.? It's a tough one. It's probably Nance, but there is a downside risk of when Kevin Love returns, what that ends up doing to his value overall. That's a risk somewhere there. Do I support a particular NBA team or just a general fan of the league? No, look, I used to be a Bulls fan, but covering the league the way that I do, it's really impossible to maintain fandom of one team. So probably, I'm not a Bulls fan anymore, safe to say. Is Rajon Rondo a pickup? God, no. Look, he's literally not even playing. He's healthy, and they're limiting him for what he does because he's old, because he played in the finals, and he's not that good. So, no, unless you're talking very deep leagues, of course not. Evan Smith, will Joe Harris benefit from KD being out tonight? Harris isn't a guy that they're just going to put the ball in his hands and ask him to do stuff off the dribble and to create for others. He's going to get his shots that are going to be spot-up opportunities. Maybe he gets a couple of extra shots, but I don't imagine that it's going to be just a huge, huge increase in what he does. Do I think there are trades coming that are going to affect fantasy? Yes. There will be. I've got no idea when. I wouldn't expect a trade for another 3 or 4 weeks. There's always going to be trades, but look, don't stress it. Look, you cannot predict trades. It's almost impossible to say, well, I'm making this trade in my fantasy league because this player is going to get traded in real life. You just can't do it, and you will screw yourself 9 times out of 10 doing it. Dwayne Castillo, Pritchard and Olynyk killed yesterday. Drop for streaming or hold? In a 14-team league, I would definitely be holding Olynyk. There's no doubt about that. And I think I'd probably hold Pritchard at this point. Miguel Alvarez. Well, I do a podcast video explaining nicknames, not during the season. It's more of an off-season thing to do. Who's a better pickup long-term, Darius Garland or Josh Jackson? It's Darius Garland by the absolute length of something long, something very, very long. It's definitely Darius Garland there. What other news things are we waiting on today? We're waiting on LeBron. I think he's going to play. We're waiting on LaMarcus Aldridge. That's a big one for the Spurs, who, of course, are going to be without Derek White. Rocket Rodney Hood is questionable for the Blazers as well. He missed the last game. Not that that's having a huge influence on what happens in that game, but that's another one where we want to take a look at there as well. Well, Rowdy Rodion's Kurucs, he is questionable for the Nets, but I don't even think he's going to play even if he is healthy. Yes, KCP is out tonight. I mentioned that one. Any news on Karl Anthony Towns? Absolutely no news whatsoever on Towns. Hopefully we get an update in the next couple of days, but we have nothing at this point on Karl Anthony Towns. Should I pick up Derek Jones Jr.? Look, Derek Jones Jr. is not good. Like, he can get defensive stats. He's shooting a horrendous field goal percentage, which will increase because he was at like 64% on twos or something last year. He's at 32 this year. So that's going to change for sure. But he's not that good. Like, he's just someone who's really overrated in my mind and is just a defensive stats specialist streamer type of player. Should I be worried, the medium says, should I be worried about Christian Wood sitting at the end of the last Houston game? It's a little bit worrying, for sure, because we still haven't seen a full DeMarcus Cousins scenario. I don't know what they'll end up doing with the Wood-Cousins situation at the end of game. So they went with like just Jayshawn Tate at the end there at center. I think that's probably more of an anomaly, but there's nothing you do. Like, you don't panic, you don't trade him, you don't do anything like that. You just keep Christian Wood, but it wasn't great to see. There's no doubt about that. All right. Let's go through and talk some DraftKings values now. The Timberwolves and Nuggets game is going to be interesting. Do they start Ed Davis again? He had 21 points in 24 minutes last game. Does he start again at 3,400? Maybe. Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot at 3,700 looks good. Kyle Anderson at 63 looks good. Facu Campazzo and PJ Dozier are some upside plays for the Nuggets at 33 for Campazzo and 32 for Dozier. Kawhi is at 9,100. He should be looking for a bounce back. The artist formerly known as Torian Prince at 33. He's only a GPP sort of a guy. And Big Chungus Nikola Jokic is at 10,800. I also like Paul George at 8,800. That looks like a good price to me. And Rudy Gobert at 7,700 is a pretty solid cash option. If we want to flick it over to FanDuel and have a look at some of the better plays there, I think you look at Serge Ibaka at 45, Ed Davis at 37 maybe, Wendell Carter Jr. at 49, Kyle Anderson at 63, Patrick Beverley maybe, probably not, Karis LeVert at 61, Desmond Bane at 38, Kuzma at 41 as a GPP guy, I can maybe see that. Valanciunas at 68 could be a GPP option as well, and of course Big Chungus at 10,500 looks pretty good. More news here. Alex Caruso is out today. He should be ready for next game. And then Rodions Kurucs is out for the Nets. Not that he was planning on being a part of their rotation anyway. I'm sure he was planning on it. The Nets just weren't planning on having him as a part of their rotation. So he is out. Is LaMarcus Aldridge playing? I don't know. We haven't heard yet. Am I concerned with Darius Garland's shoulder? Yeah, look, you have to be. He's missed 2 games with it, and he didn't look comfortable with that on the court the other day. Hopefully it's fine. But you have to be a little bit concerned. Jeffrey Liu, I traded Victor Oladipo from the Pacers for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Thoughts? It's okay. I wouldn't say it's a clear win. Yeah, I think it's okay. Justin says, who is Serge Ibaka? What? Serge Ibaka. He's the center for the Los Angeles Clippers. That's a weird question. Jamal Abdul Bassett says, does any of my family play fantasy basketball? No. Oh, actually, that's not true. Sorry. My brother does. That's it. My son doesn't. My partner doesn't. My parents don't. It's just me and my brother. That's it. What else is going on here? All right, just looking through the news, looking through the questions. All right. What else what's going on with you guys today? Anything interesting? When will LaMarcus Aldridge return? Maybe today. Like we just don't know at this point. Matt Doherty says, Westbrook and Murray. Who's Murray? Is it Jamal or is it DeJounte? For Damian Lillard and Donovan Mitchell. Look, regardless of if it's Jamal or DeJounte, the Damian and Donovan side is clearly the side that you want. Where do I think Sexton ranks in a category league at the end of the year? In the 60 to 75 sort of zone, I think. Who's a good player to trade CJ McCollum for? I think you want to aim high. Like you aim as a top 30 guy, even though I don't think he'll be a top 50 player. So aim for a top 30 sort of a player. If you've got the stomach for it, Ja Morant would be a great return on investment. Do you look to get an underperforming De'Aaron Fox back? I probably would. Donovan Mitchell, he's underperforming. Do you try and swindle the Devin Booker manager? Maybe. That's what I would do. When will Porzingis be back? It looks like it'll be in the next week or so, is the current estimation. B. Wilcock, just answer that one. What is my favorite team? I don't have one. I don't have a favorite team. Do I like Batum in a GPP on DraftKings? I think he's all right. I don't know if his upside is really high enough, though. Look, that's always the question and what you want to look at for GPPs. But Batum is... Yeah, I'm trying to see what his salary even is. Yeah, look, it's not bad, 4,600, but in the last 5 games, he hasn't gone over 25 points. So is there really a huge upside in him? It's more like he's got a solid enough cash floor. Obi Toppin news. Well, the news on Obi Toppin is he's not good. If you're looking for news on his calf, I don't think we have anything specific at this point. Let me just have a quick look and see if I can see anything on him. But, man, people hype this guy. Do we really think that he's coming in and taking minutes away from Julius Randle? It's not happening. He's not playing on Wednesday, Obi Toppin. That's the latest news that I have on him. All right. No other news coming at the moment. Let's go back to the chat. Who's more valuable in a 9-cat league, Sexton or Fournier? It's Sexton, and it's pretty easily Sexton, pretty comfortably. I would have Sexton on top there. Why isn't Lonnie Walker doing anything this year? Aaron Vogel says, well, Aaron, let me ask you this question in return. When has he ever done anything? He isn't doing anything because he isn't very good at being a high-level NBA player, and he's definitely not good at all at being a fantasy contributor. This is just who he is. So why isn't he doing anything? Because he's not very good. Calculating Z scores. For turnovers, do you simply multiply by -1 to turn them negative? Yeah, pretty much. Like, so you work out the standard score for them, and then it just becomes a negative number. So the higher the number, the more negative it is. Jason King, long-term, Teo Maladon or Emmanuel Quickly? Nearly everyone's going to say Quickly. I'm not certain it is. I probably would lean him. Marginally in his direction, but I'm going to talk quite a bit about Emmanuel Quickly tomorrow, and a few of the things that's happening with some of the numbers that he's putting up at the moment that maybe are getting people a little bit excited. Pritchard, Keldon, or Kyle Anderson. Peyton Pritchard should not be in the discussion with Keldon Johnson or Kyle Anderson. Like, not even remotely close to those guys. Keldon and Kyle Anderson are absolute must-roster top players. Yeah, Keldon's probably a top 80 guy rest of the season. Anderson's maybe a top 100 guy. Pritchard might be a top 180 player. Like, they're not even close. Do I think Whiteside will see an increase in minutes throughout the season? No, not really. Like, he might get to 15 minutes a night. He's not very good. Khan Bayrak, what are my thoughts on Troy Brown Jr.? I assume that's who you mean when you say Troy Jr. Should I drop him in a 16-team league? He's not getting minutes, but I have faith. I don't know what to do. It doesn't matter if you have faith, really. It's does Scott Brooks have faith? And at the moment, he doesn't. When you say you drop him, like, who are you adding? Like, there's the question. Are you adding Alex Caruso? Because there's not much upside in that. And Brown has more upside, but it's going to be a long way for him to get back into any sort of level of competence. So I would absolutely be considering him a drop. I'm not sure that if he is a guarantee sort of drop, but he's someone to look at. Why not balance production value with turnovers like you do with free throw and field goal volume? Low turnovers are only valuable if they're producing elsewhere. No, correct. And that is why when I'm looking at rankings, I turn turnovers off because they skew things completely. Now, when we work out the Z score and the standard score, it's not based on an average of turnovers across the entire league. It's on a sample of the top 170 so players. So it doesn't include necessarily all those guys who are getting 0 turnovers, but you're right that low turnovers are only valuable if players are producing in other areas, and that is why that when you look at ranking numbers and you go to put those things in, and I'll put it up now, and I'll have a look at how things look for the season in terms of the rankings of players. And if you include turnovers, just how wild it can make some of the rankings of guys. And, you know, and then you think to yourself, yeah, would I really consider, you know, this player ahead of this player? Like, for example, you put turnovers onto rankings and Keldon Johnson's the 48th ranked player ahead of Trae Young, ahead of Julius Randle, ahead of Andre Drummond, ahead of Luka Doncic, ahead of Ben Simmons, ahead of Chris Paul, Like, I don't need to go on. Like, Robert Williams so far is the 66th ranked player, and De'Aaron Fox is the 74th ranked player. And turnovers are a category that skews ranking numbers, and I know people love ranking numbers. Oh, yeah, there's some news. The Nets are starting the Shark, Bruce Brown. Yes. Baby Shark. So they're going with Kyrie Irving, Bruce Brown, Taurean Prince, Jeff Green, and Jarrett Allen. So, Jarrett Allen is starting over DeAndre Jordan. Good. Jeff Green is starting with Kevin Durant out. Joe Harris isn't starting? What? Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot is coming off the bench? Wow, okay. Tony Jones of the Jazz reckons they're starting Brown because he has had success guarding Donovan Mitchell in the past, but that is a wild starting lineup for the Nets. Irving, Brown, Prince at the 3. He's shithouse. Jeff Green and Jarrett Allen. I'm really happy they're starting Jarrett Allen. Man, that is wild. So that drops a lot of that value away from someone like Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot. The Jazz starting lineup is just the usuals: Conley, Mitchell, Bogdanovic, O'Neal, and Gobert. Is Karis LeVert a good buy low candidate? No, not really. I think he's sort of just doing what we marginally expect him to do, unfortunately, for him. Should I pick up Eric Gordon and drop Malik Beasley? I think I would prefer Beasley, just marginally ahead of Eric Gordon. Copper, the rule of 2. What's your outlook on Brandon Clark and Clint Capella in a points league? And you give me a whole bunch of different stats. Well, you have a look, right? You have a look at what they're averaging at the moment. I think Capella is... You've got a potential to do a little bit more than he's currently doing. Clark can probably do a little bit more than he's doing, especially because your league includes negative points for field goals missed and free throws missed, and Clark is really struggling in those numbers. So he can do better in both of those. Now, I don't have an exact projection for you because, you've got a random sort of fantasy point scoring system. But I think both of those guys can improve on where they currently are at the moment. All right. TLC is not starting tonight for someone that just asked. Is Naz Reid a good waiver wire pickup in a 14-man league? Yes, absolutely. Isaac Harris, do you think Facu Campazzo is going to get decent minutes as the season goes on, or will he be one for next season? I think that there is a chance that he can start to take minutes away from Gary Harris and Will Barton, but decent minutes, I think that's probably a stretch. That's pretty wild to me, that Nets starting lineup. I'm still trying to adjust that. Irving, Brown, Prince, Green, and Allen. I'm so excited that they're starting Jarrett Allen finally. But, what else is going on there? That is a wild lineup. Ingram for Porzingis in a points league, who wins? It has to be Ingram. It has to be. Like, the other guy's not playing. It just has to be Ingram. Is Lou Dort worth holding in a 14-team league? Yes, I would hold him. Do you think Derek White is worth a number 1 waiver in a 14-man league with IR? So I'm assuming, K Duong, that if you're adding him, then you can put him straight into IR. This is a guy that, when healthy, is probably a top 70 player. I don't really value waiver priority as highly as others do. So for a guy that... How many other top 70 guys do you think you're going to find sitting there on the waiver wire? And that should give you an indication. What website do I use for starting lineups? I use basketballmonster.com and our starting lineups page. H. Chambers, what is the best way to use the smart tool on Basketball Monster? Use it on a daily basis. Plug in the stats on your matchup, and it will give you ideas of who to stream in to help you get the categories that are within reach for you during the week. So updating it every day with your matchups, and that can be automatically imported through on Yahoo as well. Adding those stats in, updating your rosters through as well, and then having a look as to who is available to help you stream the rest of the week to get that win. Robert Burakov, what are the chances Kanter gets traded and Nurkic takes off after that? I do not think that Nurkic's struggles have anything to do with Enes Kanter. It's not like, oh man, we just need Kanter out of there so Nurkic can blow up. To me, it's got nothing to do with that. It's to do with Nurkic struggling with conditioning and with his level of play. And if Nurkic is playing at his level, Kanter plays 15 minutes a night, 18 minutes a night max. It's got nothing to do, I don't think, with Kanter taking minutes away because he's better. E. Fogel 234. What 4K guy do you like on FanDuel tonight in Power 4 between Reed, Millsap, O'Neal, Kuzma, Young, Clark? I think I've got to take Reed there. I think the upside is just the highest there for Reed. Michael Lee says, Delon Wright worth holding this week? Nah, I can't see it. Look, everyone was injured yesterday and he didn't play. He played like 9 minutes and only played in the second half. What's up with Burks? He's got an ankle injury. Hopefully he is ready to go soon. What's up with Cat? He's got a dislocated wrist and we're waiting to hear some more about that. Just got to do some work on Basketball Monster here. That is Joe Harris to the bench. I honestly can't believe that they put... Now, maybe it's just to try and get him into a different spot, but Joe Harris is not someone that you just want running things in terms of having the ball in their hands. Maybe they'd think, Harris and Luwawu Cabarro's second unit. It's pretty wild. Yeah, I don't really understand how to fully process that. All right, what else is going on? Thoughts on Jalen Brown outlook? He's going to regress. I guarantee you he's going to regress. His shooting numbers are going to come down. He's going to be still pretty good, but he is going to regress because those numbers have zero chance of being able to stick. All right. It's such a weird lineup. I can't. So the second unit's going to have Levert and Harris and Luwawu Cabarro. That's so weird. I'm really interested to see how it works out, how they run those minutes distributions. I can't get a good feel of how the minutes are going to look between these guys, but it looks like Luwawu Cabarro. Look, Bruce Brown's only played garbage time this year, so they're going to throw him in to be a starter. I don't know. I have some pretty significant doubts about it. I just don't know how this is all going to go down. I'm just trying to make some adjustments. All right, other questions that you guys have got. Harrison Barnes or Kyle Anderson? I think it's probably Anderson. He's performing pretty well at the moment. He's going to drop off, but he generally has a better fantasy game. Do we trust Nick Nurse to give the wiki Chris Boucher starting minutes? Baines is horrible and shouldn't get more than 8 minutes. Well, Boucher's getting the most minutes out of every center already. Even though he's coming off the bench, he's getting pretty decent minutes most of the time. Lucas Schuster, if you had Bam and wanted to trade for threes, points, free throws, and steals, who would you target? I'm looking at CJ. I wouldn't. No way. No way would I want CJ. Levine, yeah. Paul George. If you can get Paul George, it's an immediate yes. I think Levine for Bam is interesting. You probably can get Levine plus something else, but there's no way that I would take CJ McCullum in that sort of a scenario. Yeah, no way at all. So we're getting close to about half an hour to go here before games. We've got the starting lineups confirmed for the first one, and we're waiting on the Lakers and to confirm with LeBron. But I don't imagine there's going to be any real concerns about that, about him playing. We would have heard by now if LeBron wasn't out there and ready to go. How do you view Kelly Olynyk as a long-term option in 12 team? Look, I don't know if he's going to be a long-term guy, but you just add him and you see, and we figure it out later on. Maybe they move him back to the bench, as Spoelstra has had a history of doing with Olynyk. Is that he'll play and he'll play well, and then he'll push him back and play 15 minutes. But when he's getting 27 minutes, you go with it and you see what it means and you see how he looks and you ride it and you get the production out of him, and then if he goes to the bench, you piss him off. But you just have to grab him. When he's doing this, you just have to grab him. Simple as that. All right. You know, guys, when you say points league, unless you're talking default Yahoo points league, I don't actually know what you're talking about, because your system could be completely different. You could have double bonuses. You could have differences in miss shots, miss free throws. It's really hard to be able to know that. Obeyed Knight says CJ, Randall, and Middleton for Luka and Jokic. I'll say CJ, Randall, and Middleton for Luka. You're getting Luka, then look, it's a lot of high-performing players to get up, but I'd rather just take Luka most of the time there. And then Jokic and Boucher for Drummond, Jalen, and Beal. What are my thoughts? In general, I'd rather keep the better player, and that's Jokic in that group. But Drummond, Jalen, and Beal is a lot back. In the end, like, it's just a big change for your team. Like, adding Drummond to the mix and moving off of guys like CJ and Middleton, like, it hurts the free throws quite a bit. So it is a weird one, and I think, in the end, you're trading away 4 players and bringing in 5 players. It could just change the complete structure of your team. So in general, I wouldn't want to be making trades that are that big, just because it does throw nearly everything off. So you got to, you have to really be careful with large trades like that. But in general, I think the Luka one is good. The trading away Jokic one, I'm not so certain about it. If you're just going to drop sirens and massive flashing emojis in the chat, I'm probably not going to answer it, to be honest. Is Okoro a pickup in a 12-team league? Maybe. I wouldn't say his upside is particularly high. Like, I think he's fine. If we see him going, then he's good, but I wouldn't do too much for that. Rockheed the 6. Why is Halliburton not on IL? A lot of upset fantasy players that can't stash him. I don't know. I cannot for the life of me understand Yahoo's insistence on having different designations of O and IL. It makes no sense. I have been in contact with them through multiple channels to try and get this shit fixed. I have not had success with it so far, but hopefully we can get something happening. It doesn't make any sense. M3 Dave says, how am I doing? How is COVID restrictions bad out there? No, we don't really have any restrictions. We had 2 months without any cases at all in the state. And then had a couple of new ones come in from interstate over the last couple of weeks. I think we've got about 20 active cases here at the moment. No real restrictions. We just wear masks when we're indoors, and that's really it at this stage. Keldon or Baisley for the long term in a default points league? Look, both of these guys are must roster. I see a lot of these questions. You're talking about 2 top 100 players here. So unless your league is an 8 category league, your team is super strong. And if your team is super strong and these guys are floating around, do a 2-for-1 trade. Trade 2 of your players around for 1, open up a roster spot and get this guy in. And that is the way that you improve your team. Cameron says, is Wendell Carter Jr. a drop in a 10-man league? Should I hold him, hoping he turns it on? I would hold in most cases. Now, if you're struggling to begin the year, then maybe you have to make some bolder moves to make sure that you can get back on track. But if you're going well, you just hold a guy like that who's struggling at this point and see exactly where it ends up going. What other questions have we got? Just looking if there's any more news coming through. Nothing else yet. We're still waiting on that confirmation on LeBron at this stage. Probably the major news at this point. Is Lowry Markkanen a hold in a 10-person ESPN points league? Baisley is on the wire. Now, of course, Markkanen's out for this week. I think I'm just going to have a look. So ESPN default points, I appreciate you throwing the designator in there so I know what you're talking about. And I'm just going to have a look and see how this looks in terms of the scoring system there. Yeah, look, I think I do have Markkanen a little bit ahead of Baisley in that scenario, so I probably would hold, even though he's not going to play this week. George Ashcroft says, quickly or Hayes? Under what circumstance? Because probably neither of them are 12-team must-roster players. Definitely Hayes isn't at this point. Quickly, I just... Can I trust Tom Thibodeau with a rookie? There's a lot of things unsustainable at what Quickly's doing. I'm telling you now, there's a lot that's unsustainable. So that's something that is worth being aware of too. I'm number one in waiver order, and Baisley and Josh Jackson are available. Are they worth the ad, and who to add? Yeah, I would have Baisley over Jackson pretty comfortably there. And I think, again, I don't really value that number one waiver position. Did someone just drop Darius Baisley? Like, why? Why did they do that? Like that's a big question, and you have to understand, like, if your league, if people are just dropping guys like that willy-nilly, is anyone actually going to make a claim on him? I probably would still take that for Baisley. Why is Joe Harris not starting? It's a really good question. I have zero idea. I cannot explain that at all. Air Bruin, what are my thoughts on Nurkic? He's got a shit haircut. And you know that I take the piss out of anyone who says thoughts, but I could not have given my thoughts on Yusuf Nurkic more times than I have. Is Tobias Harris a sell high? Yes, I literally, about 2 hours ago, did a video with called Sell Highs, and the cover photo is Tobias Harris. Yes, he is a sell high player. Do I play Allen or Harris? I assume you mean Jarrett Allen or Joe Harris. I would take Allen there over him, but of course, really different skill sets. Who's my Rookie of the Year pick so far? LaMelo Ball to me still. People may disagree with that. Tyrese Halliburton's been really good. Melo was my pick before the year. Melo is my pick now. Melo is going to be my pick at the end of the year, I'm pretty sure. I have Rui Hachimura and Otto Porter. Should I drop one and pick up Kelly Oubre? I assume, hang on. Kelly O. Is it Kelly Oubre or is it Kelly Olynyk? Can't answer that because I don't know. Wendell Carter Jr. or Boogie? Give me Wendell Carter Jr. pretty easily. Is Nick Batum worth a roster spot in a 12-team category league? Nah, he's just a stream guy. That's really it. Definitely not a must roster player, but you can have him and it's fine. Should I drop Norman Powell? Is that Norman Powell or Dwight Powell? Guys, if you just put a name that is a doubled up name, I've got absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Why is Norman Powell being absolutely shithouse? I don't know. He looks fat. Looks out of shape. Maybe it's that. He just can't hit shots. Now, he will improve, but I'm not sure that he is necessarily worth holding on to in a 12-team format. Is DeRozan a significantly better fantasy player now that he shoots threes? Well, if he continues to shoot them at the level that he is, then it helps. But I think the biggest improvement has been with his ability to get assists, which has been great. Marty Barabuya, should I hold Anthony Edwards or pick up Eric Gordon? I don't have very high hopes for Eric Gordon, so I'd be more than happy to move on from Edwards. Joe says, keep up the good work. Appreciate that, Joe. Who should I trade Dylan Brooks for? Like, literally anyone who's a top 100 player, I would trade him for. And go higher. Aim top 70 with people who... People love it. Again, I told you someone the other day. I said it on some show. I don't know what it was. But I put out a sarcastic tweet after watching Dylan Brooks drive into a crowd of 3 different players and then hoist a shot up that didn't hit the rim. And I said, and this is without Ja Morant, I said, how are people enjoying the Dylan Brooks experience? Because it's just painful to watch. And so many people are, man, it's great, love him, it's doing so well. He is dreadful. He is so bad. And when players come back, he's either going to lose minutes and lose shots or lose his starting job. Get a top 100 player back if you can. Mia Cavalry. Larry Nance or Baisley in a 10-team ESPN points league. A lot of Baisley questions. I think it's going to be Nance, but they're real close. It's probably Nance to me. And especially in the short term, Nance has a higher upside. The dot requires me. What are my thoughts on Jalen Brown for Bam or Mitchell Robinson? Double and triple double boost with boosts on rebounds and assists too. Thanks for the hard work. Well, Jalen Brown for Bam, I'd take Bam over Jalen, but not for Mitchell Robinson most likely. So, yeah, look, if you can get Jalen for Bam at a buy, or sorry, if you can do get Bam for Jalen Brown, that's probably what I'd do. Brown's been awesome. There's no doubt about that, but I do think there is going to be, somewhat of a drop off in what Jalen is doing. He is the 19th ranked player so far, Jalen Brown. He's averaging 27 points on 58% shooting, which is including 43% on threes, but more importantly, 64% on twos. That is going to be somewhat of a drop-off happening there for Jalen Brown, without a shadow of a doubt. All right, what else have we got? Lots happening here in the chat. Tobias Harris or Pascal Siakam in a 9-cat league. I reckon at this point they're pretty similar. Siakam's got a slightly higher upside, but if you're trading away Tobias Harris with how he's playing at the moment, maybe aim a little bit higher. Should I drop Caruso? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what your context is. You're in a 20-man league? You're in a 10-man league? I don't know. Okay. Trade Dylan Brooks for Kelly Oubre? Yeah, I'd rather Kelly Oubre for sure. Is Jarrett Allen limited on minutes because he's going to be a restricted free agent? No. That is one of the biggest lies and biggest misconceptions that gets thrown around. Teams do not do this. There is no team that goes... Because you know what happens, right? Is obviously it's bad for winning, for a start. If you're going to limit a player so you can keep his minutes down, so you pay him less in restricted free agency, like that's bad basketball play to begin with. But players talk. Teams talk. Jarrett Allen tells his agent, these pricks in Brooklyn, they're making me play fewer minutes so they can pay me less. And then his agent goes and tells his client, mate, don't go to Brooklyn because they're going to try and suppress your value so that you don't get paid. And then he tells his friends, man, you see what the Nets are doing to Jarrett Allen? They're not playing him so they can keep his contract down. It doesn't happen. Now, I know that some of those shenanigans do happen in baseball with service days and some other bullshit and stuff like that. Some news here on Rajon Rondo, but it's not something that happens. And people want to read into things as, a lot. I'm just going to do this thing with Rondo, who's going to miss the next 3 games with his left knee soreness. Yeah, so back to the guy who said, do I pick up Rondo? No, you do not. As I'm just doing the Basketball Monster news at the moment. So no, that's not an issue for Jarrett Allen. What else have we got here? You guys are throwing a lot here in the chat, which I really appreciate. John's dad says, I'm Jarrett Allen's agent, and I can confirm this. Thanks, John. Thanks for backing me up with that. All right, so Rondo's out again. That just means Brandon Goodwin is going to take those minutes, and Kevin Huerter gets a couple of extras as well. Still don't have any return for Onyeka Okongwu, which is unfortunate. I'm still absolutely thrown on this Nets starting lineup. It's giving me some issues. I just don't know how to feel about it. Jeff Green, Taurean Prince, Bruce Brown, Joe Harris on the bench. I don't know. It's weird. The only one I can get behind is Jarrett Allen starting. That's it. All right. Chatters, what's going on? What questions have we got? Devontae Graham, question mark. Maybe. Have I gone through my favorite value plays on today for DraftKings? Yes, I have, Nate. But you know what? Because some news did drop, I'm going to come in again and give you an update on my DraftKings plays a little bit closer to lock time. Good news for Isaac Okoro that he looks like he's ready to return as well for the Cavs tomorrow. DraftKings. The Shark, Bruce Brown at minimum salary. Jeff Green at 3,100.
My name is Jeff.
I think now you wouldn't want to use all of these Nets guys because there's a lot of weird shit going on and the rotation is uncertain. But I think you want to at least include one of those players. It probably is Green over Brown, but I'm not certain on that. I like Kyle Anderson. I like Kawhi Leonard. I like DeJounte Murray a little bit as well. I like Big Chungus. I like Paul George, Rudy Gobert. And I like, to a degree, D'Angelo Russell. I think there is something there in him. But just be careful with all these weird Nets guys like Brown, Green, Prince. And don't go completely off guys like LeVert or Harris. The Jarrett Allen one is pretty interesting. If I bring him up now. Where's he in terms of the value? He's at 5,800. I think that's a really good option to use Jarrett Allen there. I think that's a strong DraftKings option for us. Is there a fantasy league for the NBL in Australia? Yeah, yes, there is. I don't play it, but there is. Is LaMarcus Aldridge a top 100 category player? Look, I would be pretty stunned if he isn't. He hasn't looked good to begin this season, but I'd be pretty surprised if LaMarcus Aldridge isn't a top 100 player. This is a guy that's been a consistent top 50 player for years and years and years, and I don't think he just loses that. The knee injury is obviously causing him some sort of problem at the moment. Do I think Fultz's field goal percentage will improve? Yeah, to a degree. I do. Thoughts on Christian Wood long-term in a points league? I think Christian Wood will probably drop a little bit from where he is, but not too far. Look, he's doing relatively close to what I expected him to do heading into this season. So I don't really see anything that's too off on that. Nurkic or Tyus tonight? I'll just keep riding with Nurkic, you know me. Is Tim Hardaway and Larry Nance a good trade? What does that mean? You trading them for each other? Are you trading them together? I'd much rather Larry Nance than Tim Hardaway at this point. Who is better, OG Anunoby or Bogdan Bogdanovic? Is OG Anunoby pretty clearly to me. Is Bagley a drop in a 10-man league? Yeah, clearly. Clearly a drop in a category league. He's terrible. He's so bad. No other news coming through yet. Still waiting on that Lakers information about LeBron. But again, I wouldn't be stressing about that. I think he's going to be fine and he's going to be playing. Am I off TLC, Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot for DraftKings? Yeah, I think I am. I'm not going to be massively into him now coming off the bench. I think he's going to lose. I think he's going to be the guy. If they're going to put Bruce Brown from out of the rotation to starting, then it's not going to be Harris that loses a chunk of minutes. It's not going to be LeVert that loses a chunk of minutes. It's probably going to be Luwawu-Cabarrot who loses a decent chunk of his minutes there, would be my guess. I'm looking at a Linux. Should I drop Boogie or Barton for him? I think I'd be okay moving on from Will Barton, to be honest. Yeah, I'd be okay moving on from him. I'm just not that high on him, as most people would know. What are my thoughts on Desmond Bane? I think Desmond Bane was really underdrafted in the NBA draft. I think he's a better player than Grayson Allen. I think he's a better player than Dylan Brooks. And I think that he should be starting for this Grizzlies team. Now, we're a long way away from that happening, and I don't think it's necessarily something that's going to happen really at any point soon. But I like what he's done so far. I'm going to wrap this one up pretty soon. Let's see what else is going on. Any other news? No. Nothing else going on there. What are my thoughts as Gary Harris is a 14-team streamer? Well, he's a streamer. That's fine. He's been struggling at the moment, but Yeah, I don't mind him as a streamer. Question from Chun Wai Wong: should I take Kelly Olynyk or Cam Reddish in waivers in a category league? I'm probably going to be in the minority, but I think I take Olynyk there out of those two. We're getting ready to wrap this up because I've been going for, 50 minutes or so here. All right, everyone who is here, there's 800 plus people here at the moment. If you could all hit like and I get 800 likes, that would be awesome. Go and do that. I would be really, really appreciative for that. Do I add Robert Covington off waivers for Devontae Graham? I would do that for sure. Aldridge for my Siakam? No, just keep Siakam there for sure. Who will be spending a third straight year seeing LeBron on the injury report with the longest recorded ankle sprain in history? I think, wasn't it groin that he was on for all those weeks last year? But yeah, it's just consistently, and then he consistently plays. It's pretty weird. D'Lo? Question mark? Yes. The Heat played better with Kelly starting. Absolutely, they did. Kelly O for 12 team. Jonathan Chong, do you mean Kelly Olynyk or do you mean Kelly Oubre? Regardless, yes. Who do I get for Tobias Harris? You just got to try different guys. Look for top 20 players. Look for top 30 players. See who wants to buy it. I can't just say, this is the one player that you go for. You got to look at ranges of players and try and exploit the current production of Tobias Harris. All right, let's wrap this guy up now. All right, I'll catch you guys later on with the what to watch for video. I'll also be back with the recap of today's show or today's games also, so make sure you're checking that out. Subscribe, hit that like button. 800 of you, go and smash the like button. That would be awesome. Subscribe, hit the bell, never miss an episode, guys. Let's go. We're out of here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. See ya.